Maggie, welcome back to the show.
Welcome back, you.
Yeah, I was going to say this is just as exciting for me because it's been so long since I filmed one of these. I haven't talked to other artists. I haven't like done anything new for YouTube in a while. It's very exciting for me.
No, we've missed you.
Well, there's multiple reasons why I thought it would be fun to jump on and do this with you because first of all, like I think it was last week, maybe the week before, this book just shows up at my house, magically shows up on my step and I'm like, I've been so checked out that I didn't even know Maggie was writing a new book, but I'm like, okay, great. This has just happened to show up on my step. And then we started chatting and you have a whole bunch of other things going on too, a whole bunch of new stuff. And the other reason I thought it would be cool to like come back to YouTube with you is because your video is one of the most popular on my channel from all time, which is crazy because this is supposed to be my channel, but it's like Maggie's video is like top three.
I know people write me about it all the time, or they'll reference things to me. Like they'll say, "Oh, I saw this video on YouTube about coloring like gold with gel pens in a coloring book," and I'm like, "No, that was Becca and me. That's our video." It's
Yeah.
just like part of the canon of coloring book videos.
Yeah. So for anybody watching who doesn't know, there's a previous video. Maggie and I have done this kind of interview and lesson before. So if you haven't seen that one, you can go watch it. But we're going to do equally fun things today, I think, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So before we do, though, like for people who haven't seen the other one, for people who haven't met you, give us the rundown on who you are, and then we'll talk about all the exciting things in your world right now.
Great. Yeah, I'm Maggie Enterrios. I'm an illustrator and I'm an author. And my first coloring book came out 2 years ago. It was called Flowerscape. And my second coloring book came out on March 21st. So brand new. Yeah. And it was very exciting because I don't know, publishing's kind of tricky. Like a lot of stuff doesn't really go well. Like I've had a couple books that didn't do so hot, but the coloring book kind of took off. So I was able to do a second one. So it's called Flowerscape in Paradise. It is completely tropical themed. So very, I don't know. I was thinking about escapism. I was drawing it during winter. I was thinking, where do I want to be? So this whole thing is based on plants from Hawaii, Australia, coastal Australia, a lot of the things I collected over the years traveling, and very much fits into the vacation experience theme. So that's the big one. And then I also came out with my own line of colored pencils, and they were produced by Arteza. There you
So
go.
pretty.
And I got to pick all the colors, which felt like
Did in a candy store.
child. Yeah, totally. Like this giant box of Arteza pencils showed up and they're like, okay, pick 24. And I was just swatching everything and then leaving for a day and coming back and, fine tuning exactly which shade of green I wanted. It was like dream life.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the book and the colored pencils came out on the same day. It's Flowerscape branded. So everything is perfectly designed
Oh,
to
cool.
match with the flowers in the book. It's a dream come true.
I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Congratulations. I mean,
Yeah.
congratulations
Thanks.
on the success of the first one. And then all of a sudden this new one shows up. And I'm like, oh my God, we're doing it again. Amazing.
I
And
know
for people
time's
who
probably flying for you.
and for people who haven't like for people who are just meeting Maggie for the first time, I'm like flipping through the book trying to find a good example. They're all good examples, but like if you've never seen Maggie's work, it's called Little Patterns for a reason because it's like little patterns. And they're so
Yeah.
pretty. Like everything is just so intricate and detailed. And like I said this in the last coloring book video with you, I'm sure, but like I've never been a coloring book person. Like I found when the adult coloring book trend was going on, I would get more stressed out doing it because I would be like such a perfectionist, but I feel like in these it's just so fun to like experiment because they're just so like tiny and detailed and no matter what you do they look pretty.
Yeah. And I'll be honest with you, I was not a coloring book person either, but mostly just because I'm an illustrator, right? So um to me, like as a hobby, I don't think I would just do my job as a hobby to relax or unwind. But what I did with these books is I basically did my traditional method of drawing. So everything I draw it's botanical. It's got like animals and has tons of complex layers. And so I draw the ink line work and then I color it. And then, I turn in my project. And for these books, I just stopped at line work. So I'm kind of giving people the jumping off point to do whatever they want with the template. So you could go full color, or you could do what I love to do with like detailing with black pens, which we did in the last video. There's just so much potential for me that I see that it's like, I stopped and then you just take it wherever you want, just wherever creativity leads you.
Yeah.
So as somebody that's not really into like traditional coloring, I like to think outside the box a little bit. And I like to think, okay, so if somebody doesn't feel totally comfortable in their coloring skills, what can they do with this book that is just as relaxing, makes them feel like they've created a piece of bespoke art and like have a little bit of fun. So that was the idea behind it.
Yeah. And I mean, again, back to the other video, I think I had never really realized all the like advanced moves you could do in a coloring book too. And if people have seen that last one, they're like, okay, I got those three, I think it was 3 techniques you did in the last one. So let's do some more because everybody loved them, including myself. And I'm excited to see what you show us in this one. So before we do that, though, I did want to mention to the audience, because you told me this, I almost forgot. You told me right before that Arteza agreed to give away some things.
Yes.
Okay.
And they're good.
Okay.
Arteza is going to give away everything that I use in the video. So a copy of the book, a copy of my colored pencils, and every tool that I use in the entire video, they're going to put together in a prize pack.
Okay. I feel like people are going to see what you're using and be like, okay, yes, I do want this.
I know.
Techniques. Okay. So we'll talk about how people win that after your lesson, because I want to jump into it. I know you have some good stuff to teach, and then we'll let people know at the end how they can win it. Okay, cool. Let's flip onto your hands.
Go. So first things first, let me introduce you to my new coloring book, Flowerscape in Paradise. If you're familiar with my first book, Flowerscape, this is a follow-up to that, but this one is entirely tropical. So it's 96 pages of tropical floral illustrations. It's on 160 GSM, so that's a heavyweight white paper. It's got a sewn binding and it's lay flat, so while you're working in it, your pages stay perfectly open. My favorite feature about it is the color key. So every page has the flowers identified, and then there is a QR code to scan so that you can find some easy coloring references. Takes out a little bit of the guesswork. I'm really excited. This is what we're going to be working in today. I cannot wait to showcase it, and I can't wait to hear what you think. For our lessons today, I will be using 3 types of products. First, I will be using the Arteza plus Flowerscape colored pencil collection. This is my colored pencil collection. It's 24 perfect tropical shades that are really vibrant and ideal for coloring in my coloring book. I will also be using Arteza Twee markers. These are a dual tip water-based ink pen. So that means they have a fine nib on one side and a brush tip on the other. And I will be using Arteza glitter gel pens. These are the ideal gel pen. They're super sparkly. This is the gel pen that your childhood wished it had. For this exercise, I'm going to be showing you how to turn this into this. This is a really fun mixed media technique that uses watercolor markers, colored pencils, and gel pen. I'm going to be using 3 colors of Arteza Twee markers. So this is 2 pinks and a yellow tone that I'll be using. I will also be using 3 colored pencils from my collection. We're going to be using a hot pink, a tangerine orange, and a red. Lastly, we'll be using a white gel pen to create the highlights. So let's jump in and I'll show you how to create this mixed media effect. So the first thing we're going to do is color block. I'm going to color in some larger areas of these flowers with just a water-based marker. That's going to help us fill the space, and we're going to go in and add details after that. So I'm essentially just going to block in some colors. I think I'm going to start with a pink along the bottom, and then I'm going to move up and start using a yellow. And I'm just going to color within the protea flower itself, and it does not have to be perfect. That's the best part. And what I like about this marker is it has a fine tip end, so I can fill in the petals
in like the larger areas, and then I can move in and use the fine tip to color the spots that are really close to other parts. So now that I've laid down that pink, I'm gonna come in with my watermelon pink, and I'm gonna color a few more petals up. It's okay if they overlap. And now I'm going to use my yellow to finish up the rest of the top of the flower. All right, so now that we've color blocked a little bit, it's time to go in and add some shading and really bring this to life. I know it's hard to imagine right now, but just wait till you see it. So when I shade the base of a petal, I really work my pencil down into this little crevice here, and then I work along the edges. So I'll maybe making more of a U shape is what I would call it. So I start along the U shape or the V shape, make sure I get some shading down into the crevice here, and work my way back up. So what you end up with is at the bottom of each petal, you have a sort of a U shape. I'm gonna go around and I'm gonna do this to every petal. And then anytime a petal is near another flower, there's some overlap, I might add a little extra just to create shade. So my U becomes a little bit deeper, darker. So along these ones on the edges, I would just bring my shade in a little bit. And that's what makes it look like this, this leaf that we will end up coloring at some point is casting a shadow. So you can see here that by using this hot pink, these two tones, so the bottom two, right, this watermelon peachy color and this bottom pink, they're starting to feel a little more unified. I'm going to use the same pencil across all of them. So now I'm going to go into the yellows, and what you'll start to notice is it feels maybe a little muddy, but I'm not too worried about it. I will show you why. And it's because we'll be blending. So these yellows will end up looking more like this, what's happening up here, and these hot oranges up here. All right. So we've got our hot pink down. I'm gonna move into this orange, and this one isn't technically necessary, but I think it creates such a lovely second tone. So I'm gonna go ahead and do it. So we're going to follow the same path that we just took, but you don't have to hit every petal. I like a little variance. So maybe just the ones that you wanna add a little tone to. And you're just sort of coloring right above the little shade loop that you've just drawn. You can do some where you get a little deeper into the base of the petal. Really what you're doing here is you're just creating tone variance. So you're making sure that not every petal looks identical. I'm gonna add a little extra on these. So we're gonna go in with our darkest shade color, and it's this red. And I am going to, with a little bit heavier of a hand, really hit down into the spaces between petals, and I'm gonna create a lot more pop. So I'm really creating more V shapes. So just to show you how that looks, I'm just deepening the shadows right at the base. And anywhere where this neighboring leaf overlaps. All right, now I'm going to do the ones along the top here. So we've got our watercolor marker, we've got our colored pencil put down. Now we're going to do something pretty fun. We're going to bring back the watercolor marker and we're going to use it to blend. So what I'm going to do is just swipe along the petals And what it'll do is it'll blend the colored pencil and the marker together, almost like it's a watercolor painting. And it'll blend those tones. So everywhere that you put down an orange to create a second tone, that'll kind of pop and become more watery. And watch what happens when I go over these yellows. They become this beautiful apricot color. And you can be pretty loose about this. And then for the next step, we're going to let those dry. So in the meantime, I'm gonna work on the center here, and I'm gonna color it with the yellow. And I'm just gonna pop some yellow over some of these other petals to create that gradient again. And then to shade the center, I'm gonna go in with my medium pink color. I'm just gonna loosely add some shadows along the base. Okay, now that I've got that laid down, I'm gonna go in with my white gel pen and I'm going to create these pops of accent white. I'm gonna be working on the opposite side of the petal that I was working on before, and what I'm gonna do is wedge my gel pen just into the tip of the petal and build a fan shape downwards. So what this white is gonna do is create our highlights. So our little pops of highlight. And once I'm done doing the tips, I'll kind of add a few along the sides to create interest. And anywhere that you see this sort of circle of highlight, you can throw a couple extra dots or so in there. And then I'll move into the center of the flower, and what I'm gonna do on this one is I'm just gonna add little dots towards the top. And there you have it. There is your colored protea flower using mixed media, markers, colored pencils, and gel pen with a gradient effect. For this exercise, we're going to go very true to my heart, and we're going to turn this into this. It's a graphic black and white patterned technique that uses just 2 tools to accomplish. So I'm going to be using a black tween marker from Arteza, and we're going to be using a gold gel pen. That's all you need. So let me show you how to create this effect. First things first, I'm going to add some shading to some of these leaves. So I'm just gonna use little strokes using the fine nib end of the tween marker, and I'm gonna create a few shaded lines in most of the larger leaves. You're going to be drawing little half moon shapes, and you're going to tuck them in between other elements within the composition. So I'll start by just drawing one over here, about that big, and then I'm going to draw a couple right next to it, and then start building outwards, almost like you're drawing little fish scales. And then you'll round out the shape until it feels a little bit more circular. And I'm going to draw a couple of those all around the composition. Now I'm going to do a little fine detail work, so I'm going to color in to the shapes that I just drew over here. So using the fine nib end of my pen, I'm going to draw a second semicircle, leaving a little white space, and color it in with black. I'm going to do this across the composition. Now that I've finished that, I'm gonna add in some of these little orange blossoms. So what I'm gonna do is in the remaining white space areas, I'm going to draw little 5-pointed flowers like this. And I'm gonna vary the sizes a little bit. So some of them will be much larger and some of them will be a lot smaller. Now I'm going to color all of the negative space black, just like I did up here. So I'm gonna use the brush tip end, and then if there's any spots that are too small, I'm gonna use the fine nib end to kind of get in there. Now that I've got all of my negative space finished, I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna add some gold detailing. So what I did here was I did gold detailing within the blossoms on the outer frame and a few within the oranges. Since these are persimmons, I'm gonna do it a little bit differently. And instead of doing those dot details, instead I'm gonna do some lines.
And then I'm just going to do a light outline inside of the fruit. I'm also going to go on the insides of the little persimmon flowers, just right in the little star shape. And then of course, I'm going to do the frame. For the purpose of this, I'm just gonna do the center line on each side of the frame. I think that would look the prettiest. You could go through, you could add a few more details, just as much as you like to make sure that it feels totally like yours. And let me show you the final effect. Now you could go in and you could color this as well. So I think this is a great starting off point to color. If you're going to do that, I would save the gel pen for last. So I would do all of the black and white part first, then color, then gel pen. For this technique, you'll be turning this into this. I'm gonna be using glitter gel pens. I love them. They remind me of being a kid again, and I like to try to think of ways to use them in a more fine art application. So for this, I'm going to take us over to a flower identification page. That's one of my favorite things in Flowerscape in Paradise. Every single flower is shown so you can identify what is in every composition. I also have these QR codes that you can scan for color reference. They're on every single page, and you can see every flower in the book, and you can get quick and easy color ideas. The first thing I'm gonna do is work on the shadows of the flower, and I will be using a red glitter gel pen. And just in the center of each flower, I'm going to work outwards with my red gel pen in soft little strokes. And I'm just gonna fan out my line work. So they've each got a red burst coming out from the center now. And I'm also gonna go ahead and add a red dot to the center of each flower. Now we're going to go in with our pink, and I'm going to do the opposite. So I'm going to color in from the outside of each petal like this. And what that's gonna do is it's gonna turn the negative space, the white space, into the highlight of the flower. So this is what it ends up looking like. And then you can use these same colors to color the leaves. So I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna use my darker red color to shade this leaf. Anywhere that's close to the base of the leaf, I'm gonna put little stripes of red. And I like to stay on one side of the line. So in this case, I am staying just to the right of any black line. Now that I've got my red down, I'm going to use my pink again to create the highlights of the leaves. There you go, that is the final effect. So you use just 2 colors to create this. I will also show you how I use it on the rose begonia so you can see how it works on different shaped flowers. For this one, I'm choosing 2 more purple tones. So this is kind of a hot pink and this is a true purple, and they're both glitter gel pens again. So since I'm deeming the purple to be more of the shadow color for this one, I'm gonna start with it on the insides of each petal of my rose begonia flower. So this is an orchid. I did not follow a color reference. We're just having some fun over here. So I use outward moving strokes to shade the base of each petal with my darker tone. And I really like using 2 tones for this because I like keeping things a little simple, but I think it would be awesome to use many in a composition. So if you were to, say, color the leaves with 2 different shades of green and then color each floral with 2 different shades as well. So anywhere that I would consider a center, I'm using this darker tone. And I'll use it on the stem as well. And I'll just carry this the whole way down the stem, keeping it sketchy and light. For the highlights for this rose begonia, I'm using this fuchsia color. Just using the same technique as we did on the last one, I'm working at the ends or the outer corners of every part of the flower, and I'm creating the highlights. I've just created some loose little dot strokes to add some texture. So here is the final reveal. I colored the wax flower and the rose begonia using just 2 gel pen colors each. This is super unique. I don't think I've seen a lot of this technique using a limited color palette, but I can see it working well in a larger composition. I cannot wait to see what you do using this technique. Thank you so much for following along.
Flowerscape in Paradise. Came out on March 21st in North America, and it will be available worldwide. I just can't wait to see what everybody thinks about it. So if you do want to connect with me, I am on Instagram at Little Patterns. Flowerscape also has its own Instagram page. That's at Color Flowerscape. That's where you can connect about all things Flowerscape. You can see examples of colored pages, free downloads. There's tons over there. Thank you so much for following along, and let me know what you thought of these techniques.
I mean, Maggie, there's same as last time. It was just like come out of that being like, I had no idea I could make a coloring book look so freaking cool. But like based on, I guess if anybody ever goes and creeps your Instagram, they're like, of course I could do that if Maggie just showed me how, taught me her skills.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to show some color, because last time I didn't. Wanted to show some color, but then I still had to stay true to myself and do a black and white version. And then I like the idea of taking that gold metallic technique, but evolving it. So using colored gels.
Yeah.
That's just where my mind went, was like, how can we take everything that we did and just like push it a little bit further?
Yeah, that first technique honestly blew my mind. The color, like with all the blending and stuff, is just so cool. I would have never opened a coloring book and thought I could do anything other than like color by numbers, like fill in the blanks. It looks so much better this way.
What I loved discovering about it was, I was testing all the materials, and I know the pages in my book are fairly thick in terms, like the paper quality is great, but I loved like that it could take multiple layers of water-based markers. Pleasant surprise. I kept checking the blue through, and as like a materials nerd, that was very satisfying.
Yes,
I love
especially as a hand letterer and calligrapher, paper weight is everything, but with brush pens and markers and stuff, it matters so much. Okay, wait, before I forget, I want to get back to you. At the end of your lesson, you said that you wanted people to tell you what they thought and which one they liked and stuff. So I was thinking that should be the way that we have people enter the giveaway that we mentioned at the beginning.
Oh, perfect.
So I think that we should just, anybody who's watching who wants to win literally everything Maggie showed in this video, if you just leave a comment on this YouTube video and tell us whether you liked the first, second, or third, what do we call them? Experiment. The first, second, or third techniques.
Yeah.
Tell us which one you like the best. Literally leave us a comment saying anything and you'll be entered in the draw. And then we're going to just draw someone and ship them all these amazing goodies.
Yeah, you're going to get the joy of opening the box of Arteza products that I got. Yeah. And it feels good.
Yeah. Let me tell you, I got the book, just the book. The book felt great.
Yeah.
All of it though?
And they're set. Well, you didn't get your colored pencils yet. Those are on the way to you. So you'll get to play with them too. But yeah, everybody will get it, or the winner will get a copy of the book and the pencils as well. Everything that I showed in the video. So
love that.
Everybody loves a big old prize pack.
I love it. Okay, cool. So yeah, anyone watching, leave a comment down below. Let us know which one of those techniques you like the best and you'll be entered. Maggie, I just have one last question for you before I let you go. I don't want to take up any more of your time, but my question, and I'm sure I asked you this in the last video too, I just don't remember the answer, is how long did it take you to draw everything for this book?
Oh, okay. Here's the weird part is I don't remember if it was 400 or 500 hours. Because
you lost your mind by that point.
Yeah, something like once it gets to that point, like what is time?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I was supposed to do the book in 3 months. I ended up having to ask for an extension and I did it in 4. And even that was like, by the end, I was just so out of it. But I also became this really strange version of myself where I'd be like walking through a parking lot and I'd see a flower just like at the edge, like by a curb. And I'd be like, is that a tropical-ish flower? And then I'd be down photographing it. Like I just was desperate to find everything around me that would fit within the theme. And oh man, a lot of people in my life put up with a lot of really slow walks during that time.
No kidding. And now you've done it twice. So
now I've done it twice. Whew.
Do you think you would do it again if they said, give us another?
I have 2 themes in my mind that I am interested in doing, but I might need a little time for that.
Take a little breather.
Oh yeah, the themes are good though. So like, there's always going to be that part of me as a creative that cannot rest until I get the ideas out. But I do put up some free downloadables on the Flowerscape website. So that's colorflowerscape.com. So anytime I've had a spark of an idea, but not really like a venue to put the pages out, I've just been putting the free color pages on there. So you can print them out as well. So that's, makes things a little more accessible. And then I get the joy of creating.
Yeah, it's awesome. Okay, well, you just said where to find those, but tell people where they can find you before we wrap this up.
So my account where you can see my illustrations is at Little Patterns. And then the coloring book has its own Instagram and Facebook, and that's at Color Flowerscape.
Love it. Okay, well, Maggie, thanks so much for coming on again and blowing everyone's minds again. I'm sure it won't be the last time because we get asked about this all the time and people just want more and more and more. So yeah, appreciate you coming on again.
Yeah, I'm really glad to see that you came out of maternity world just to come see me for a little bit, and I'm just crushing it.
Thank you. Okay, well, until next time, I guess I'm gonna say that because I know there will be one.
I can't wait.
Talk to you soon.